Do you feel like your world has been turned upside down? What you thought was true turns out to be false, or what you thought was false, you are discovering to be true. By the end of this video, you will learn the #1 way to recognize cognitive dissonance and how to overcome it. Hey, it's Todd and Anna, and welcome to another webcast from LifeQuest Institute, your guide to the new earth. So, here is a little background information for today's episode. Given the current shifts and changes with the recent evil and corrupt worldwide disclosures, chances are you are doing a lot of mental twists and turns, processing, researching, all the things you thought were true actually aren't. Clearly, many of us are in the middle of having inconsistent thoughts, beliefs. It's getting to the point of not knowing what to think or what to believe. We're just not ourselves, which causes cognitive dissonance. We may even be a little disheartened when we realize we are no longer aligned with who we thought we were.
It's true.
We don't even trust ourselves, our beliefs. There's so much confusion. In this episode, we are going to address whether or not we are aligned with who we are determining cognitive dissonance or not. So let's jump right into it, Anna. Glad to be here.
That's my role. Happy to be here, Todd.
Yes, excellent.
All right, cognitive dissonance.
What's the definition? Let's start with that.
Okay, just to start off, though, is to recognize how it's a little bit of a tongue twister that's happening, or maybe a little bit of a
incongruency.
or just kind of not coming out right.
Speech impediment.
There you go. That's what I was looking for. All right. So the definition.
Yes.
All right. So cognitive dissonance is the state of having inconsistent thoughts, beliefs, or attitudes. Excellent. All right. So when you have the inconsistent thoughts, you might even get a little off balance. I don't know.
Yes.
Sometimes it's true because the body knows the truth. And it's especially as it relates to behaviors, behavioral decisions even, and attitude changes. This is all cognitive dissonance, or this is how you can discover it, find it, dig down for it. And everyone experiences cognitive dissonance in some form in their life. We all do it.
Yes.
We all have it. We all live it, because you can't say anybody here doesn't say something a little rash that will make it sound like you're covering up for something.
Right. It's almost like an incongruency.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. So, and it can occur in many areas of your life, and you will know it when you're out of alignment with what you truly have your belief system wrapped around.
Right, and that's what I was saying about the incongruency. You can almost tell when people they're pitching a product and they don't really believe in their product, so the words don't match their beliefs. So you can see the incongruency.
Yeah.
And as we move more into the shift in consciousness, our intuition is going to pick up on those little subtle cues. So,
the subtle cues can definitely be in the body language,
absolutely.
The facial expression, the eyes, the intent. You can tell maybe they've memorized a script even,
right.
So it's just like, it's all going to be, but we're going to be more aware to be aware, to say, hey, your head might do that little twisty thing, like something's not quite right with this guy,
right.
with this sales pitch.
So not everyone feels cognitive dissonance to the same degree. For example, take your reputation. None of us want a tarnished reputation. To what degree do we protect it, right? This is where cognitive dissonance, this is where it will show itself. Another example is for those who feel they are good, honest people, even telling a lie will create cognitive dissonance. The incongruency, and that is the key word I hear, is that incongruency. Uncomfortable feelings, tension, shame, and anxiety are all negative feelings that we want to avoid.
So I think when we try to avoid it, that's when we fall short.
Yes.
So let's learn a little bit more. So notice the need for the consistency or a certain amount of calmness in our lives which affects the cognitive dissonance because we want everything to be status quo. Change is hard for most of us. You know, we want everything to be like it was yesterday, and the day before that,
Right.
And
Control.
your life is controlled.
Right.
You know, you don't veer off. I mean, there's a lot of real adventurous types of people, and they don't really care about cognitive because they're out there forging
And
a
that's
trail.
actually the better way to live.
It
Even though
is.
I'm a control freak and I'm a very organizer type person, the reality is we have no control. So the people that realize that, yes.
We'll be better off for sure.
Yes.
So things to watch for is notice when you're justifying or rationalizing the behavior. That is cognitive dissonance. That's part of the definition. Getting caught in rationalizing the dissonance to the point of stressing out. I mean, you can get problems with your,
Jaw.
jaw and facial blemishes and hives. I mean, it comes out in many ways. So your body knows, your heart knows, your spirit knows, and it's really hard to fool yourself.
So let's look at ways to avoid cognitive dissonance. Let's go back to the issues of lying. The most effective way to justify or rationalize a behavior is to lie. And lying is the number one way to recognize cognitive dissonance.
It's the number one way.
Yes.
Because when you're reading the title, it's like, really, there's a one way. There's the one way.
We prefer the lie to avoid the discomfort of having lied. Worse is when we start to believe the lie as truth when it's not the truth. What's some signs we should look for?
Well, an easy one is to do something and then look over your shoulder to see if anyone watched you or noticed. Right, that's probably a big one. It's like, they might see me do that, And children, I mean, they're definitely big on it. But then now we're adult children, and so we're still doing it. Let's see. So if someone's looking over and watching you, and then a couple of examples that I came up with was like when you're walking the dog, and you don't pick up after the dog. And it's like, anybody watch that he just had a BM?
Remember the one I had the other week was the shopping cart.
Yep,
that was an article. I didn't even write it, but somebody on Facebook wrote that, and I was like, "That's genius!" Because when you bring your groceries to your car, you get everything into the car, and then what are you going to do with the car? You're going to put it back, right? There's no law that says you have to.
Right. It's just decency. It's
exactly.
Okay, so then maybe driving, you don't stop at that stop sign. So then you're like, where's the popo? Running a red light, and you're still looking for someone who might have watched you that's going to have a siren on their car. And even, silly enough, going back to the grocery store, snitching a couple of grapes, or you're in the candy bin.
Oh,
and you want to try a chocolate almond, but you want, that's not the dark chocolate, so now you got to go to the dark chocolate part because you ate the wrong one. Okay, so we all know someone who lives a lie to avoid the uncomfortable state of mind that they're in. We even know our own lives, our own families, our own secrets and other people's secrets. And maybe it's a Me Too situation and we're shoving it under the carpet. That's all cognitive dissonance. And so it's hard to notice someone who is suffering that badly because they got to make everything look perfect.
Right.
Talk about perfection,
Right.
So, and it's incongruent. And that's where the body breaks down, though, too.
Oh, absolutely.
It's more than just blemishes. Or jaw. It could be ulcers, sleeping, ulcers, but it can attack certain parts or all parts of your body. Anyway, had a funny one to share, but I'll keep that one to myself.
All right. So what we do is we need to do a checkup to see how we are set up for failure. Take an inventory of where your ignorance and arrogance resides. Cringy words. Right.
But let's say them again. I'm not kidding.
Ignorance and arrogance.
Yeah, because it plays such a role.
Right, because when you actually meet people, the more ignorant they are, the more arrogant they are. They almost go hand in hand.
No,
it's like a divine trick.
It's a kind of a human fault.
Yes. So we want to observe overreaching attitudes and opinions. Do you defend because it is tied to a particular lie? Consider any strong attitudes and opinions causing rigid thinking and should be held loosely. Nothing is written in stone. And especially with the news today, the future will prove the past. So when you're out there and you are a truth seeker and you are spreading the truth, people are knocking you down, this and that. Knowing yourself that the future will prove what you said today.
Yeah.
The past.
And as long as we can wait for that to come together, you know.
And it might take a little more time than you thought. I think we both thought it was going to happen a little sooner, but that's all right. It's all in divine time.
Yeah. But it is speeding up, no doubt.
Right. And I think when it starts to come out, the real truth, it is going to be it's going to be what they say, a D5, which is an avalanche.
Todd, so before I was as aware as I am.
Right.
And I don't have it all. By no means do I know it all, but I at least grasp for it. So those days, those early days, those were rough days. Those were days where, you know, they call it going down the rabbit hole, and you're like digging and digging, and you just can't even believe what you are discovering and what you're realizing, how the world really is spinning on a whole different illusion than the one I've created for myself.
Yeah, there is more control underneath the collective consciousness. We didn't realize that the control and how it was kind of wrapping up and the agenda of what was to be. I mean, you could say Agenda 21, research that, but it is very heinous.
Yeah. No, ugly, very ugly.
Yes. But with that, there is a dark, dark side to everything that is coming out. But at the same time, all this dark is coming out, bubbling up from underneath that collective consciousness, because we do all have to recognize it, see it, be aware of it, transcend it, make sure we set up systems in place so it never happens again. At the same time, all that's happening, we have the spiritual aspect, which is a shift in consciousness that is making us more aware of who and what we really are. And then we'll get more intuition, and that will help. But don't forget, you still have the dark side. There's that drama in reality of the light versus dark.
A couple of things I've just written down. One thing that you said that was really important to me, and hopefully to the audience, is we didn't realize.
Right.
Just a lot of things going on under the scenes, you know, behind the scenes, wherever these things are happening, you know, we didn't realize.
And right, and it's all connected. You don't realize like how structured it really was.
It's around the world.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so now you were talking about the disclosure aspects, but then there's the spiritual aspects, and so this is the contrast. This is what doesn't get us to be more intuitive. This is where we can tap into our intuition, because you're seeing the awful part, but you're also noticing that you got to have both.
Right.
That you need the contrast so that you know what is awful, so you can stay in what's better.
Right. And then most of the people watching this video have taken that step, but there are individuals who are watching this video, they are still stuck. They don't see the contrast. They think what they're seeing is truth, but they haven't become aware. Remember, it's almost like a spectrum of light. Like you really, if you look at the whole spectrum of reality and you put in light, right? What's a better way? Okay, this is reality. This is full awareness. You literally are only seeing this much of reality. As you become more aware, you see more of reality. Remember, a lot of the population is still looking through this narrow blinders on. They're being fed information, and then they're caught in this echo chamber. So it's verifying their truth that they heard over here, but in reality it was a false. And then this echo chamber is reconfirming that the false is true.
But that's the cognitive dissonance.
Correct.
I mean, bing, bing, ding, ding, ding. Because the cognitive dissonance is when things get wide in scope and you're drinking in different kind of I don't even want to say Kool-Aid, because some of it's Kool-Aid and some of it's truth. And that's where the intuition comes in, to be able to discern the difference. But if you stay rigid to the only belief that you have and not open up the blinders, then you will be in your cognitive dissonance, and you will have that rigid sensation. You will be rigid in your discussion to friends and family. And then they're trying to share. No. It's a little bit more than that. And so it's kind of like very important to kind of open up the blinders. So, for instance, what if you're telling a story, some life experience that you had, and how did the story change from when you told it 5 years ago, 5 months ago, and this particular story that we've all done, which is, the fish was exactly. The fish was this big, but no. And so that's one of the ways. It's the lies that we told. But when you go back 10 years from now, 20 years from now, sorry, my hands up, and we're elder, and we're talking about this gigantic fish, and then the little grandchild finds an old picture of you, and the fish it's only this big. This fish, pop.
Right.
So when we tell ourselves the lie over and over, and we soon forget what the original truth was. I can, when it occurred to me is I was visiting with a friend that I had gone to high school with, or even better than that, hooked up with recent friends that I had as a childhood, visiting grandma. Far away, like took a 3-hour trip, to get there. And so they're reminding me about certain stories, or maybe their truth their truth is different because it's not the way I remember it, or maybe mine. So anyway, the stories that we've told ourselves to just feel good about ourselves.
Right.
So anyway, we forget what the truth actually was. So you can take an inventory of your beliefs. They might be outdated or unproven even. So a lot of research is necessary. You might want to change, revamp, trade some of these out. They're no longer serving.
And given the shift in consciousness, we would all do well to recognize our cognitive dissonance in order to bring balance and harmony, right? So you want to recognize and change behavior, which helps cognitive dissonance. Picking up, after your dog, or stopping at a stop sign, or bringing the car back to the carriage, or you don't turn on the red light, don't snitch a grape or two.
They're dirty anyway.
Dirty, right?
You gotta go home and wash them first.
Bring your choices and actions back into harmony with your truth, integrity, and moral character. Very good character trait.
So we gotta think about changing the belief.
Right.
All right, something that we had and we just took it with us, and it just didn't work. And wherever you got that belief, send it back to them. That person, thanks. It don't work for me anymore. You can thank them. So if you hear yourself saying something like, there's probably a cognitive dissonance in that, or it is what it is. I've heard people say that it is what it is. And it's like, that's just kind of glossing over. It's an easy way out, meaning anything can support a belief that's not even well thought out.
Right.
So be aware of how you support adjust or justify to make the lie fit with your current narrative. It's hard to do because it's going to flip you.
Right. For traumatic experiences, seek help, especially if it is causing you to lie to yourself, as the only survival means you have. Talk to a friend, journal it, or go to therapy so you can be heard, validated, and acknowledged. Probably the best way to overcome cognitive dissonance is to have a sit down with yourself.
All right, little chat, cute little chit chat with yourself. Have a cup of tea. We're big with our tea, and let your mind ruminate a little bit.
Because it really is that incongruency, enormous word. Like, research that word just to be congruent with yourself. I mean, in sales, a lot of the people over the past probably 5 years have brought that into sales, and understanding that if you're not congruent with what you're selling, if your beliefs aren't congruent with what you're selling, you're throwing off signals. And in sales and mastery of sales, they have figured that out.
years ago.
Yeah.
And isn't it true if you try to take on a job like that, the boss will see it right away that, this might not be for you because
Yes,
you don't even
exactly.
believe in the product.
Right.
Do you use the product?
Right.
So,
Very true.
okay, so go over the issues with yourself when you're having this special sweet little sit down and pat yourself on the back for knowing that you are taking care of yourself. Even if the beliefs aren't quite right, at least these are ways that you survived.
Yes.
So consider where you could improve upon and make a commitment to honor yourself with some good ideas. 1, 2, whatever it takes to improve. So shoot for some small but positive changes. Go for the small successes. Changing a few of the beliefs, changing your perspective, letting go of that rigid thinking.
Yes.
Don't be so staunch. Yeah, staunch with your thinking, and this allows for new ideas to come in. And therefore, what happens is you change out the old and you bring in the new, and you create different new thought patterns.
Yes.
So. So it really boils down to the simple truth: walk the talk of integrity for a more
Harmonious life.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right. Great show, Anna. Let's wrap this up.
Okay.
All right. So if you're seeing this video and you're not a friend at our private Facebook group, you should check out the tribe. We have over 26,000 plus awakened individuals getting together and growing themselves over in our Awakening to the Shift group. That is Awaken to the Shift group. You will enjoy connecting with like-minded individuals who are also awake and growing. Chances are many of your friends and family could use some direction on how to cope with the life changes and challenges they are experiencing too. So be sure to share this webcast. If you find this webcast to be valuable, grab a notebook, take notes.
Take notes.
Right, fill it with information that encourages you to vibe high. For more information, to find out more about our different webcasts, be sure to check out the LifeQuest Institute website at lifequestinstitute.com. We will provide the link in the show notes. Other than that, any last words, Anna?
Yes. Create a great day.